I just came across this one project, an Android project, and it was actually Kotlin, and it had a whole bunch of libraries in it. So it may have around maybe 20 libraries. Now, there was a problem with this project, and that was anytime we updated the Gradle version, at least one library would stop working. This would destroy the entire app. Not only that, the compile time was very long. The performance wasn't the best. I don't know how the libraries actually impacted the performance, but they did somehow. There were a lot of view creation things. There were a lot of database things, and just so many libraries in there that weren't really needed, but impacted performance somehow. It impacted compile time. It made development a lot slower because anytime we got a developer on board and they didn't know this library, because some of these libraries weren't really popular. They were doing a big functionality in the entire app. Like one of them was Last Adapter. I worked with Last Adapter for a little bit, and that was my first time using it. It took me entire like 2 or 3 days to figure out how it works. I couldn't even run the app because on my simulation for it, it wouldn't compile. It wouldn't run on the emulator or phone. It would just crash for no reason. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure out how Last Adapter worked. Last Adapter kept on not working with data binding or something with my environment. And a lot of developers with a lot of the libraries were doing a big thing in the app. So they couldn't understand a good like third of the project, a third of the app. Not only that, but anytime we updated the Gradle version, like updated our IDE, it would just not work anymore. There were so many problems because there was at least one library that would just tank the entire project if that wasn't updated. And I'm gonna come find out now one of the libraries actually isn't being worked on anymore. So it's not being updated, so we can't even update the Gradle version in our IDE or the projects without switching out the library and changing the entire library. And that's what I like to say is libraries are very good and all. They increase productivity, they might increase performance, reduce boilerplate code, all this stuff. But so if you're doing a project for a company, pick a library that you think is going to be around for quite a long time. Don't pick one from GitHub that has like 10 stars on it, because it's going to be gone. That's even if it solves a big problem for you, think about later on. Think about, is this library going to hold up on the next release of Gradle, or is this a project going to support, Oreo, for example, or the next Android version, for example. Um, is that going to be supporting the new versions? Is it going to crash? Is it going to increase developer time for new developers? You know, are you going to have problems with this? Do you have to change the library because it's going to not be supported anymore? Not going to be developed anymore on GitHub? All these things are very big things you should think about before you put a library in there. Don't put any old library that solves your problem. If it solves your problem and only has like 5 or 10 stars, try and implement it yourself if you can, or just use the library if you think it's not going to change support for Android. Like it's not going to crash something if you update Gradle. Like for example, if you have Last Adapter. Now Last Adapter is a really good library for Android, but let's say it only has like 10 stars. Don't use Last Adapter then. Don't use that library. Like let's say a Last Adapter, and let's say we have a different library that only has 10 stars. Now this is for Recycler View, and what if Recycler View changes? What if updates? This 10-star project may tank and fail, and no one's going to develop it. So now you have to change that library for another one, or you have to drop that one whenever you want to update your app, or whenever you want to update it to a new Android version, you want to update your IDE, anything like that, it just crashes the entire app. So when you're picking your libraries, pick ones that have high stars, and think about, is this going to crash my app later on? Is this going to increase development time with new developers? And if I update my Android from Oreo to Android P or something, or Q, or whatever those are, is this going to impact that? Does the library need to be updated within Android, so it's an Android library like for the recycler view or something like Realm? So pick ones that are very high in stars, and if it's not high in stars, pick one that's only Java related. It's not fully Android, like maybe an Android extensions library. I mean, that's forever use for Kotlin, at least for a few years, because it's not dependent on stuff.